Hi everyone, this is Alex from Rotax, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install your intake silencer and your carburetor to your Rotax 125 Evo engine. To install your intake silencer and your carburetor, you need the following tools: a wrench, 5mm Allen key and a screwdriver. The intake silencer with the integrated air filter consists of the following parts: the carburetor socket, the rubber intake pipe, the air filter with the air filter support, the upper and the lower part of the intake silencer, nuts and bolts, and some hose clamps. First of all, before we attach these parts to the engine, we're going to do a pre-assemble on the intake silencer. We start with the upper part, and the first thing we fit is the carburetor socket. It is important to fit the long end into the intake silencer. Take care that you clip the sealing lip into the intake silencer. The next thing is the air filter and the air filter cleaning kit. Both are fitted into the intake silencer. The first part we are going to fit to the upper part of the intake silencer is the first part of the air filter support. The next step is to fit the air filter itself. The air filter comes already drained into oil. This is to achieve the best filter characteristics. After every wet race, please check this filter. The next step is to fit the second part of the air filter support. Now we put this one aside. Now we continue with the assembly of the lower part of the intake silencer. The first step is to fit these nuts onto the lower part. It is important that the thread is on the lower side. You can use the desk as a help to fit these nuts. The same process needs to be repeated on the other side. Here we go. Now we fitted all 4 nuts onto the lower part of the intake silencer. The last thing we have to attach to the intake silencer is the rubber intake pipe. The rubber intake pipe has 2 different ends, one round end and one flat end. It is important that the round end is on the outside of the intake silencer, so we fit it this way. So this is how the lower part of the intake silencer looks like when it's completely assembled. You see all 4 nuts are attached and also the rubber intake pipe. You can see the Rotax logo on top of the rubber intake pipe, and the case is perfectly fit into the sealing lip of the rubber intake pipe. To complete the assembly of the intake silencer, we put the upper and the lower part together. Important is that the carburetor socket shows into the same direction as the rubber intake pipe. You can pre-fit the screws in the front, but not at the back, because we have to install the whole intake silencer onto this bracket. After having assembled the intake silencer, we now fit the intake silencer and the carburetor to the engine. These are the last 2 parts that we fit onto the engine before we put the whole engine onto the cart. For the carburetor we use the small hose clamp, and for the intake silencer we use the big hose clamp and the 2 screws to fix the intake silencer onto the engine bracket. The first step is that we remove the sticker from the intake. We attach the hose clamp onto the rubber part of the intake, and then we attach the carburetor also. We use a screwdriver to tighten the hose clamp and to properly attach the carburetor to the engine. To attach the intake silencer onto the engine, we fit the bigger hose clamp onto the carburetor socket. Now we put the intake silencer onto the carburetor and use the screws to attach the intake silencer onto the bracket with the fuel pump. We use a wrench with a 5mm Allen key to tighten the screw. The last step is to use a screwdriver to tighten the hose clamp onto the carburetor socket. So this was the assembly of the intake silencer and the carburetor. The engine is now ready to be put on the cart. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.